Hello, Julie here and welcome to my YouTube channel. The layout I'm showing you today is for Mystical Scrapbooks April 2021 Cyber Crop. The theme for the month is Black Plus One, and the added challenge for this cyber crop from me is to create at least one of the pattern papers you use on your project. I've stamped on plain cardstock to create mine, but there are endless options. Like you could stencil with paste, you could stencil with inks, you can use ink straight out, you could use watercolours, alcohol inks and so on. So the papers I'm going to be using are this Colour Blast paper round. It's called Limited Edition, and there are some lovely papers in this paper collection. I have chosen as my plus one, my colour is blue. The name of the plain blue cardstock is Tranquil Blue. I'll put a link to all of these pattern papers and the cardstock in my description box below. I'll also put a link to the cyber crop so you can pop over and have a look if you're interested. There are prizes to be won and you might be one of the lucky winners. I'm going to take a sheet of the Tranquil Blue and trim it down to 12 inches by 12 inches and then cut a 1-inch frame out of it so that I have got the middle section to use on other sections of my layout. Then I'm going to trim a piece of black cardstock down to 11.5 inches by 11.5 inches, and this is going to be the background for my layout. The first piece of pattern paper is called One of a Kind, and I'm going to trim that down so that it's 10.5 inches wide by 10 inches deep. The next piece of cardstock I'm going to cut is the Tranquil Blue, and I'm going to cut that so that it's 6 3/4 inches by 7 1/4 inches. I'm going to use that piece that I cut out of the background. The third piece of pattern paper is cut from the paper called Real Deal, and I cut that so that it's 5 1/4 by 6 1/2. I'm going to bring my photo in now. It is 8 inches by 5 inches, and I'm just going to see how that sits on my papers. I'm going to double mat my photo, so I'm cutting the blue so it is 5 1/4 by 8 1/4, and the black is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. Time now to create my pattern paper. I'm using this uniquely creative stamp and it's called Wavy Words, and my Stays On Jet Black ink to just stamp all over the blue cardstock. I don't get a perfect image, but I'm not too worried about that. When you're stamping on the texture of the plain cardstock, you don't always get a very clear image. I'm not concerned about getting right into the centre of the paper because that's going to be covered by my pattern paper and photo. I wanted to make the pattern paper stand out a little more from each other and also to add some more black to my layout, so I cut some mats for my pattern paper. The one for the blue cardstock that I stamped on, I cut the mat 7 inches by 7 1/2 inches. And the Real Deal paper, I cut the mat 5 1/2 inches by 6 3/4 inches. Off screen, I fold around my photo with an emery board, and I inked around the edge of all of my papers with my Versacolour black ink cube. I've attached double-sided tape to all of my papers, and I'm now going to assemble the basis for my layout. I have to say I love these pattern papers. They are a nice heavy weight and beautiful to work with. The photo is of some of my sisters and their partners and my mother and me. We went on a cruise in 2006, I think it was, yes. Time now to create some flowers to embellish my layout. I'm going to use this Embossing Arts Giant Flowers. It's a cube and I've had it for a long time, so it's probably not available anymore. And I'm going to emboss that with some black embossing powder. I'm going to stamp that twice on some pattern paper and once on the plain blue. Once I've finished the embossing, I will use my scissors to fussy cut each of the 3 flowers. I'm going to use a couple of chipboard embellishments as well. One of them is a Mini Tabs number 2 tab that is from Dusty Attic, and the other one is a Memory Maze crisscross heart set. There's quite a few of these hearts in the pack. You can see the pack off to the side there, and I'm going to colour those with an acrylic paint called Baby Blue. This paint is from my ceramic days, and I have had this paint for 30 years probably. I'll give each piece 2 coats of the acrylic paint, and you'll see later on I do change my mind about the tab piece of chipboard. I changed the colour of that. I had a look around in my ribbons and I found this blue ribbon with the polka dots on it, so I cut a piece of that so that it's probably about 14 inches long, I guess, and then attached it with some double-sided tape at the back of the layout. I also added a row of this bling on top of my ribbon. A little bit of sparkle doesn't hurt any layout, I don't think. I didn't get that bling on straight, and that's going to bug me, and I will end up changing it. I also added that tab at the top. Now it's time to add my flowers. I'm going to arrange them how I think I want them to be. Once I'm happy with the placement, I'm going to add a little bit of chipboard to the back of each flower and then attach them to the layout. This gives me a bit of added dimension. I also used the same bling that I used across the bottom of the photo area there. I cut each one separately and then used them as the centre of the flowers. This ties the two together. I inked around the edge of my chipboard heart and started thinking about where I wanted to place it. It was here that I decided that tab didn't stand out at all there in that colour, so I used a black permanent marker to colour it so that it stood out a little better. It is now black. When I create my layouts, I have a bit of a basic idea about what I'm going to do, but the finer detail is sort of just falls into place as I progress through the layout. So this is where I decided to add that second row of bling. I've auditioned this chipboard heart in a few places, and I've decided to go ahead and attach it to the top right hand section of the photo. I'm going to use my art glitter glue to attach that, and I actually put a bit of chipboard under the half that hangs off of the edge of the photo, because the photo is matted on chipboard. To create my title, I'm using this Tim Holtz Alterations die. It's called Inside Out, and it actually cuts the inside of the letter and also the frame around it. I'm not going to be using the frame today. I've cut it in blue, in the plain blue cardstock. I have inked around the edges, and now I'm going to use my T-ruler to attach it to my page using glue, trying to make sure that I get it nice and straight. So that's my layout for today. I hope you've enjoyed watching my video. I will put links to Mystical Scrapbooks Cyber Crop in the description box below. I'll also put links to my blog if you're interested in getting measurements. If you're not already a subscriber, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. Thank you for being here with me today, and I hope you'll join me for my next video.